They tell you that a recession is a disaster. They tell you that when the market bleeds, the whole world loses. But this is a half-truth. In the history of dynastic wealth, fortunes are rarely made during the calm, easy summers of a boom economy. They are merely maintained. True fortunes are forged in the winter, when the streets are panicked, when the banks are frozen, and when the average person is selling their future for pennies on the dollar. Chaos isn't a pit to be feared. It is a mechanism to be understood. Today, we are going to break down exactly how the transfer happened and how you can position yourself on the receiving end. Most people view economic crises as disasters. They panic, sell, and retreat. But for dynastic wealth, a recession is not a tragedy, it is a harvest. While the majority watches the news in terror, the minority watches the markets with anticipation. This is the Dynasty Trap, a cyclical mechanism where the fearful lose ownership and the prepared consolidate power. Act 1. The myth of wealth destruction. To understand the Dynasty Trap, we must first dismantle the most pervasive myth in economics, the idea that wealth is destroyed during a crash. When you see a terrifying headline screaming that trillions of dollars were wiped out of the stock market, it is easy to feel like the money simply evaporated into the ether. But physics applies to finance. Matter is neither created nor destroyed, only transformed. In the markets, wealth is rarely destroyed, it is transferred. And historically, it transfers in one direction only, from the impatient, leveraged, and fearful hands of the many into the patient, liquid, and cold-blooded hands of the few. We tend to view the economy linearly. The average worker believes that if the line goes up, we are all getting richer, and if the line goes down, we are all getting poorer. But institutional capital views the economy cyclically, more like the season. They understand that a crash is a necessary mechanism of the system, a forest fire that burns away the dead wood, the bad businesses, the over-leveraged speculators, the foolish gamblers, to make room for new growth. The tragedy is that this dead wood often includes the life savings of the unprepared middle class. When a crisis hits, most people are exposed. They have bought homes at the top of the market, maxed out credit cards to maintain a lifestyle, and locked their retirement accounts in volatile assets. When the music stops, the average household is often forced to sell. They don't sell because they want to, they sell because they have to. They need cash to pay the mortgage, to buy food, to survive the layoff. This forced selling creates a downward spiral in prices. And who is on the other side of that transaction? Who is buying the house at foreclosure? Who is buying the blue chip stocks at a 40% discount? It isn't magic. It is simply those who have hoarded cash specifically for this moment. They are not necessarily smarter, they are simply better positioned. They are prepared for the winter while the rest of the world was celebrating summer. This transfer is the trap. The financial system encourages us to take on debt during the good times, luring us into a sense of false security. Interest rates are low, the banks say. Buy the bigger house, lease the luxury car. We are encouraged to stretch ourselves thin. Then, when the inevitable contraction happens, the trap snaps shut. The debt that seemed manageable becomes a noose. The assets we were proud of become liabilities, and the wealth we thought we had is stripped away and handed to those who set the trap in the first place. For understanding that a crisis is a transfer event rather than a destruction event changes your entire perspective. But to participate in this transfer, one must understand the specific mechanism that separates the predator from the prey. Liquidity. Act 2. The Liquidity Moat. If you want to know why the rich get richer during a crisis, you don't need to look at their stock picks. You need to look at their liquidity. Liquidity is simply the ability to access cash instantly without losing value. For most people, cash is something to be spent. It burns a hole in the pocket. If there is an extra $10,000 in the bank, the brain immediately scans for a vacation, a renovation, or a new car. The prevailing wisdom is that holding cash is losing money to inflation. While this is technically true in the long run, it is a fatal error in the short run. Cash serves a different purpose in high net worth circles. It is not for spending. It is ammunition held in reserve. The liquidity moat is the buffer that separates the dynasty from the disaster. When a recession hits, credit dries up instantly. Banks stop lending, credit limits are slashed. If you need money during a crisis, you will not find it unless you already have it. Wealthy estates maintain a significant portion of their portfolio in boring liquid instruments, treasuries, gold, cash equivalents, not because they yield high returns, but because they provide optionality. When the market crashes by 30%, the person with cash is king. Their purchasing power has effectively increased by 30% overnight, simply because everything around them has become cheaper. Consider the dynamic of the margin call. In the investment world, this is when a broker demands you put up more cash to cover losses. If you can't, they sell your assets for you. But this happens in real life too. Losing a job is a margin call on your life. An unexpected medical bill is a margin call. If you do not have the liquidity moat, you fail the call. You are forced to liquidate your long-term assets at the worst possible time. You sell your stocks at the bottom, you sell your house in a buyer's market. You cash out your 401k with penalties. This is the definition of capitulation. 8. Conversely, the dynasty acts as the liquidity provider of last resort. When everyone else is desperate for cash, they step in. They buy the distressed businesses. They acquire the real estate portfolios from bankrupt developers. They lend money at exorbitant rates because they are the only game in town. This is the mechanism of the trap. They are not stealing your wealth. The system is designed so that you hand it to them because you are drowning and they are the only ones with a life raft. But the price of the raft is the asset you spent a lifetime building. This requires a level of discipline that is rare and admittedly painful. It is hard to sit on cash when the market is booming. It feels foolish to earn 1% interest when your neighbor is making 20% on crypto or tech stocks. It feels like you are missing out. But those with a generational horizon think in decades, not quarters. They know the boom will end. They know the bubble will burst. And they are willing to look foolish for 5 years to become the masters of the next 50. They build the moat not because they are afraid, but because they are preparing to hunt. Once the liquidity moat is established, the strategy shifts from passive defense to aggressive offense, executing a maneuver known in high finance circles as the fire sale. Act 3. The fire sale protocol. The fire sale is the moment the trap yields its cap. It is the point of maximum pessimism in the market. The news is apocalyptic. Experts are predicting the end of capitalism. The average person is paralyzed by fear. This is the signal institutional capital has been waiting for. This is when the buy orders are executed. Warren Buffett famously said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." This quote is often repeated on Instagram, but almost nobody actually practices. Why? Because buying during a crash feels like running into a burning building. It goes against every survival instinct in the human brain. The fire sale protocol is not about picking the absolute bottom. It is about acquiring high-quality assets that have been mispriced due to panic. During a crisis, investors throw the baby out with the bathwater. A perfectly profitable company will see its stock price plummet simply because the sector is down. A prime piece of real estate will sit on the market because financing has dried up. The intrinsic value of these assets hasn't changed, only their price has. The elite are masters of distinguishing price from value. They know that a Mercedes doesn't become a bad car just because the dealership is desperate to sell it. So let's look at recent history. In 2008, while millions were losing their homes, private equity firms like Blackstone were raising billions to buy those same homes. They bought entire neighborhoods for pennies on the dollar, converting them into rentals that generate cash flow to this day. More recently, consider the 2020 pandemic. While the service economy collapsed and small businesses shuttered, the billionaire class added trillions to their net worth. Why? Because they had the capital to double down on tech, logistics, and pharmaceuticals at the exact moment the rest of the world was freezing their spending. It was a K-shaped recovery, a vertical ascent for asset holders and a vertical drop for everyone else. The trap here is the psychological inability of the average person to act. Even if a middle-class individual has some cash during a crash, they're usually too terrified to deploy it. They wait for clarity. They wait for the news to get better. But by the time the news is good, the prices are back up. The elite do not wait for clarity. They buy the chaos. They understand that the risk is lowest when the fear is higher. They are purchasing future cash flows at a discount. Furthermore, during a fire sale, the competition is eliminated. In a boom, you are competing with every other investor, driving prices up. In a bust, the competition has been wiped out. You are often the only bidder. This allows the wealthy to dictate terms. They can demand preferred equity, warrants, and board seats. They don't just buy the asset, they buy control. This consolidation of power ensures that when the recovery comes, and it always comes, they are the ones steering the ship. So we understand the transfer, we see the importance of liquidity, and we've walked through the mechanics of the fire sale. But there is still a massive hurdle. You could have all the cash in the world and still fail if you don't have the one thing that separates the predator from the prey, the right mindset. Act 4. Psychological armor, stoicism as capital. We often talk about financial capital, but we rarely discuss psychological capital. The Dynasty Trap is, at its core, a psychological game. The reason the rich get richer is not just math, it is mindset. The average person is emotionally attached to their money. Their net worth is tied to their self-worth. When their portfolio drops, they feel physical pain. They panic. They make emotional decisions to stop the pain. They sell to get peace of mind. But in finance, peace of mind is expensive. You pay for it with your future return. To survive the volatility, one must cultivate psychological armor. This is a detached, almost stoic relationship with money. It means viewing capital as a tool, cold abstraction, rather than a measure of happiness or security. This detachment allows the savvy investor to operate rationally when the world is irrational. When the market is crashing, they do not feel fear, they feel opportunity. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's easy for them to say. They have billions. If I lose my savings, I'm ruined. And that is a fair point. But this mindset isn't genetic. It's trained. It is the result of studying the nature of psyche. The children of wealthy families are often taught history before they are taught finance. They know that the panic of 1907, the crash of 1929, the stagflation of the 70s, and the dot-com bubble were all temporary. This historical perspective is the armor. The middle class suffers from recency bias. We tend to believe that whatever is happening right now will happen forever. forever. If the market is up, it will go up forever. If it is down, it is the end of the world. The elite have intergenerational perspective. They look at a chart that spans 100 years. They see the blips for what they are. This allows them to hold through the drawdowns that shake the weak hands out of the market. They have the fortitude to do nothing when doing nothing is the hardest thing to do. Moreover, they insulate themselves from the noise. The 24-hour news cycle is designed to trigger your fight or flight response. It is designed to make you click, what, and panic. The wealthy do not consume this junk food. They do not make investment decisions based on what a talking head says on TV. They have their own networks, their own analysts, their own data. By filtering out the emotional contagion of the masses, they keep their psychological armor intact. They do not get infected by the panic virus. This psychological gap is the true divide. You can give a lottery winner millions of dollars, but without the psychological armor, they will likely lose it in the first crisis. They will panic. They will be manipulated. The money will flow back to those who can hold it without their hands shaking, not because they are better people, but because the market rewards emotional discipline above all else. The Dynasty Trap catches those who cannot control their own emotions. It is a tax on fragility. Armed with the understanding of the transfer, the necessity of liquidity, the mechanics of the fire sale, and the armor of stoicism, we must now ask, how can you, without billions in the bank, escape this trap and use these same principles to build your own legacy? Act 5. Building your art. You do not need to be a Rockefeller or a Rothschild to escape the Dynasty Trap. The strategies of the elite are scalable. Gravity works the same on a pebble as it does on a planet. You can apply the same logic to a $10,000 portfolio that they apply to a $10 billion portfolio, but you have to stop acting like the prey. You have to reject the consumer programming that keeps you fragile. Here is the blueprint for building your own art before the rain starts. Step 1. Rebrand your emergency fund. Most people view an emergency fund as money for when things go wrong. It's a defensive mindset. Shift your perspective. This is your opportunity fund. This is your liquidity moat. Stop maxing out your lifestyle to the limit of your income. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, you are walking a tightrope without a net. You need to aggressively accumulate a cash position. Yes, inflation will eat a small percentage of it, but that is the cost of the insurance policy. When the next crash comes, this cash allows you to say no to bad deals and yes to great ones. It transforms you from a forced seller into a potential buyer. Step 2. Become anti-fragile. The elite use debt to buy assets. The middle class uses debt to buy liabilities. There is a massive difference between a loan on an apartment complex that pays you rent and a loan on a luxury car that depreciates every mile. You must ruthlessly eliminate high-interest, bad debt. This debt is a hole in the bottom of your boat. When the storm comes, you will be bailing water while others are sailing. If you have no payments, you have freedom. You become anti-fragile, a financial position that gets stronger, not weaker or pressure. Step 3. Learn valuation, not just price. This is the technical skill you need to develop. Most people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Start educating yourself on how to value a business, property, or an asset class. What is the price to earnings ratio? What is the cap rate? When you know what something is actually worth based on the cash it produces, you will not be scared when the price drops. You will be excited. Create a watch list of assets, stocks, real estate, collectibles that you want to own but are currently too expensive. When the crisis hits, don't panic. Go to your list. While your friends are posting about the end of the world, you should be deploying your capital into high-quality assets that are on sale. Step 4. Curate your inputs. Garbage in, garbage out. If your information diet consists of alarmist news and panicked social media posts, your financial decisions will reflect that fear. Audit your inputs. Read biographies of tycoons who navigated the Great Depression. Study the strategies of investors who thrived during the 1970s. By adopting their inputs, you will begin to adopt their psychological armor. You will learn to see the world not as a series of threats, but as a landscape of shifting opportunities. Let's make this tangible. Imagine you have built a humble $15,000 opportunity fund. The market crashes 40%. Everyone around you is panic selling their index fund. You go to your watch list, see that the S&P 500 is trading at valuations not seen in 5 years, and you deploy half your cash. 3 years later, when the dust settles and the market recovers, that $7,500 investment is worth $12,500. You didn't do anything magical. You just let the Dynasty Trap work for you instead of against you. The Dynasty Trap is only a trap if you don't see it, and now you see it. You understand that every crisis is a redistribution. Wealth flowing from chaos to clarity, from panic to patience. The next crash is coming. Not this year, maybe not next, but it is coming. The seasons always change, and when winter arrives, you will face a choice. Will you be the one desperately selling or calmly buying? Will you panic with the herd or hunt with the pack? The transfer is inevitable. Your position in it is not.